Hello and welcome to lesson 4 of programming microcontrollers, and today we're going to be looking at Neopixels. Now I know last lesson I said we'd look at servos next, but I just thought Neopixels were the more logical step in what we are working on. We're going to continue looking at iteration because they are critical for working with Neopixels, as you'll see as we work through them in code. A few months ago I made an IG-12 Droid from Mandalorian, and I got the files from Etsy, Droid Division, fantastic files, but I knew that I wanted to make the head light up. So I could have gone with LEDs like I've shown in the last lesson. Here's the Droid head what I've just taken off, and if we have a little look inside, so I'll just take some of these bits off. So what I've done is I have used something called Neopixels, which basically I've wrapped around in a circle around the main neck post, the main backbone basically, because I know that it's much easier to program a Neopixel than it is a whole sequence of LEDs. It also it's more robust and reliable than lots of soldering and wiring. So what we're going to do now is take a look at how we can code these. Now, as with previous lessons, I'm not going to go straight into the Arduinos and ESPs and soldering and wires and breadboard, because that can introduce a whole bunch of new problems. So as with previous, I'm going to jump straight into Tinkercad. So if we look in Tinkercad, last lesson we had our LEDs. So again, you probably saw, I think I had about 16 LEDs wrapped around IG's head. So I'd need to add a whole lot more, and that of course would relate to having to have a lot more pins. Now I wouldn't have enough pins to do that. You know, we can see here we've got from pin 3 up to pin 13, and we've got the analog pins, so we might squeeze it in, but I also know that I need other pins to control the sounds, as you may have seen on the intro video part. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create a new project. So I've gone back onto Tinkercad. I'm just going to create a new circuit. I'm going to drag an Arduino on just like before. I don't need a breadboard for this one, so I can just simply put a Neopixel on. So if I type in Neopixel, there we go, straight away we've got a Neopixel. We've got a whole bunch of them just here. So I'm going to start with this strip of 4 just to make it nice and simple. So if we zoom in, we can see we've got a DIN. DIN just means data input, and DO, data output. So we'll not worry about data output just yet. So I'll zoom back out a little bit. So I can now go on to this, and because I know on my breadboard from the other day I've already got these pins connected, I'm just going to go pin 6. It doesn't really matter on the Arduino, so I'm just going to connect pin 6 to our DIN, and that's all I really need. That's going to send data from the Arduino into these Neopixels, so it can turn them on and off. I've got 5 volts and ground, so for this, because it's only short, I can just link 5 volts straight here, and I can link the ground. This is looking really messy. I don't think I'm very happy with this at all. And just to make it a bit easier for me, I am going to colour these in. So I'm going to make that orange, because that's ground. I'm going to make that red, and because that one's ground, I'm going to make black. Okay. Again, that looks really messy, but it'll do for the moment. Actually, it's going to annoy me if I don't, so I'm just going to tie that up just at least a fraction. Okay, so I've got these Neopixels hooked up, and what I need to do now is turn them on and off. Now, unlike with the LEDs, we can't just go, this is a digital output, let's just do digital write high, digital write low. We actually need to send it some actual data. So before I go any further, I'm going to pop back into my PowerPoint and just have a quick look at this. So you can see a screenshot I've already created where I did the wires a little bit neater. But this, what's important to realize is this is LED 0. LED 1, LED 2, LED 3. So if you've not done any program before, most coding languages start at 0. So it's really important to sort of factor that in. Otherwise you'll learn the hard way and wonder why LED 1 is actually, is the second LED. So let's have a little look at the code. If I go into code, obviously I don't want that one, I'm going into the text itself, continue. I can delete this, so I don't need any of that right now. What I am going to need is I need to include a library. Now this, when I go to the Arduino IDE, I'll show you how to do this. but I need the Adafruit, or Adafruit, depends how you pronounce it, the Adafruit Neopixel library, and that's going to include the code that is needed to make these talk to each other. Oops, don't need to do that. The next thing I'm going to do is define how many pixels have I got in this strip. Well, you know, I've got 4 pixels, so I'm saying define number of pixels 4. The next thing I'm going to do, can I zoom that in a little bit? Oh, a little bit, I can zoom in a little bit, is, again, I'm not going to make you watch me typing all this out, I'll just show you what it is. So I'm going to stretch as wide as I can. So this is the Adafruit Neopixel. So that is a function, well, it's a class coming out of this library, and I'm going to call it pixels. You can obviously name this whatever you want, so that is your variable name. So if this is your IG head LED, you know, I could call it that, IG LEDs, but I'm going to leave it as pixels for now. So this is now creating the constructor. Again, if you know about programming, I know what it is. If you don't worry about it. It's just a starting point. So it's taking this number of pixels. 6 is the pin I have connected it to. So that's the only bit you might need to change. And then it's the Neopixel GRB, as in red, green, blue. And that's the order of which it needs to light these up. This sometimes is a bit of trial and error. If you get those numbers wrong, your LEDs might do weird things. You tell it to be green, and what you actually get is blue. And then this is just the kilohertz of which I believe it's refreshing at. I'm not going to pretend I fully understand this, I just know it works. So now, in my setup, I'm going to drag, well, I'm going to copy or type out pixels.begin. So this is going to tell our Neopixels to actually start working. It's making this actually communicate with this device. And then inside my loop, I can just go and just turn the first LED on. And of course, I'm sure you, if I was a teacher in your class now, I'd ask you, what number do I need? So the first LED is actually LED 0, so that's what that is. And this is how many red do I want, how many green do I want, how many blue do I want. So if you're not familiar, this is the RGB. But if you've ever played in Photoshop, you'll have seen RGB values. If not, maybe I'll do a lesson on that in the future. Just leave a comment below and I will cover about RGB values. The lowest you can get is 0. The highest number you can put in is 255, so 255. So if I say I want all 255, but no green, no blue, just think about mixing your colours. Well, you're mixing pigment, you're mixing light, not mixing pigment. This is going to give us red. So if I wanted green, I would say 255 for green. But like I said, I do want red for this first one. So if I just say 255, now if I was to run this, it wouldn't work. I need to tell it to actually send this code, this data, to the LED matrix, to the strip. So if I just copy it, if I just write this in, pixels.show, so now this is going to show whatever I've set things to. So I'm going to press start, and what we should now see, hopefully, if I've made no mistakes, there we go, we've gone red. Okay, so our next thing is I want to turn the next LED on. So I'm just going to copy and paste that because I'm a little bit lazy. I'm going to say, let's turn the next LED on, so LED 1, and let's turn this one to be green, and then show that one. Now we noticed it was almost instantaneous because I didn't put a delay. If I was to put a delay of just say, oops, can't type code while it's while I'm typing. So if I just put delay, I don't know, 250 for a quarter of a second. When I run this, we should see it go red, then green. So quite quickly after. And finally, we'll do one more, which is the third LED for the moment. So again, I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to copy and paste all of that. Now hopefully, if you've watched my lesson 3, you'll know where this code's actually going. So I've got the delay again, and I'm just going to say LED 2, and this time I'm going to make that one go blue. And again, this is where you should probably have a little play with these sort of things. So there we go, it's almost instant. Now obviously this is not the way I want to do things. What I can do is use a for loop. So if I just stop the simulation, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to create a for loop just like I did in the previous lesson. I can get rid of RGB for now, can't I? Oh, very clumsy clicking. So for int I equals 4 semicolon sorry, that's incorrect, I0, I less than 4, because we're now going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, that's the end, so I don't need to do equals. So it's less than 4, I++. I'm going to just put some braces around that. Put a little brace there. Now obviously this is going to make all of them go red. But if I do this, we should see it start. Oops, I forgot to do something, honestly on purpose. I forgot to change this variable here, this value, to I. So it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3. So there we go, we've seen that light up. Obviously it's gone to all 4 of them. And again, if I want to, I could now copy this and do that again. And this time I can put that to 0, and this time I could go 255. So it's going to go to the green. Yep, I think I've not lost my marbles a little bit. Copy and paste again. I could do other clever things, by the way, but I don't want the code to start getting too much if you're new to this. So now when I press play, again it's the browser going a little bit slow. There we go, it's now going green, and it's the browser making this struggle. If this was on a real LED strip, it'd just be blitzing round. Okay, so I'll just stop that, but we kind of see the point. It's slowly going through. Now this is the great thing about Neopixels. So if I just sort of hold this a little bit, this is what you can buy. They are flexible little strips. You can buy them as rigid little things. You can buy them as circles. You can buy them as grids of squares. You can even get them as big bunch of LEDs. So you can sort of spread these round, again with just the same 3 wires. So let's have a look what we can do. So if I did want to separate these, I could just snip this. I could snip it down this little bit just here, and then I could solder these to each other, and then you can make them go on and on. So I'll sort of show that right now. If I grab another Neopixel, so I'm just going to close the code. If I drag another Neopixel on, I can connect these. So again, the data out, if I just drag this all the way around, it's not going to be pretty. Neither is this. Oops. Again, if this bothers you, I apologise. I know some people do like it to be perfect. But again, this is just us messing about for the moment. And again, shall I recolour these? Yes, I will, because it could get a little bit unpleasant to look at. So again, orange, red, and then I'll leave that one as black. So now, obviously, if I press play, nothing happens. Well, sorry, the first lot happen. But if I nip back into the code, I can just go, well, I've got 8 pixels now. I've got 8, so it should automatically update and go through the rest. Oop, doesn't like that. What have I done wrong? Okay, I hadn't done anything wrong. It was just unhappy with me pressing play at that time. So let's just press play again. We can see it's going through. Now, obviously, there's still a bit I've missed out of the code. So when I said number of pixels 8, a number of pixels there, but what I didn't do is change these 4s. So again, I'm going to use a variable for that. I'm going to move this down, and hopefully this should be fine. So if I just copy and paste number of pixels, so number of pixels. So now it knows I've got 8 pixels. Press start, and we should see it circling through. There we go. And I'm sure you know what I'm about to do next. Okay, that looks absolutely horrendous, but it's proving the point. And of course, if you do yours neater than me, you can feel a whole lot better. So if I just click on code, obviously I've now got 16. So I can just edit that, say 16, press play, and we should start seeing it circling through or cycling through. Maybe I should have changed the delay value to be a bit quicker. But this is pretty much what I do in my IG12's head. I'm just rotating through these colours. Now, as said, they do come in different shapes and sizes, so you can obviously pop, you can put a circle on, you can put an outer one, so these are really great if you're making yourself a little pit droid. Obviously bigger versions, even bigger versions, and they all work the exact same way. If we sort of come right in, we can see it's got a power connection there, we can see it's got a output, we can see it's got the input, and it would work in exactly the same way. But I'm just going to not bother with those for the moment, because I think you've seen enough for the moment on how to just make your LEDs light up. So let's go over and do this for real. If I load up Arduino itself, okay, so I've launched the Arduino IDE. The first thing I really want to do is I need to go into the Manage Libraries. So as I said earlier, this has got the Adafruit library for dealing with Neopixels. So if I just go into Manage Libraries, I can just type in, obviously it's actually just updated itself, so give it a moment. Okay, I can just type in Neopixel, and I think I can just stop there and it should find it for me. There we go. We can see that I've already installed Adafruit Neopixel, so it's not the DMA one. Oops, I just jumped past it. There we go. We can see that I've already installed it, and I've just used the latest version, put that on, and now I can copy the code across that I've already created in Tinkercad. Again, showing another reason why I quite like to play here first. So if I just grab that bit of code, I mean, I'll just grab the whole lot. Minimize that, come back into here, highlight the whole lot. So again, double checking, I've got Adafruit Neopixel, got the Pixel 16, I've got this whole thing, it's on pin 6, Pixel begin, I've got the for loops all there. I'm going to go on to tools. Yep, I'm still using the Arduino Uno. So what I'm going to do is, so I've already got my IG12 head. I'll take this lid back off again. Now we can already see. So we can already see I've got the whole Neopixels there. I can't remember how many they are. I could do a very quick count up, but I'll figure it out the hard way in a moment. So I've got the Neopixels. I've already soldered the cables. They are dropping down through this hole in the actual neck tube, and they're coming out underneath, because that's where I'll put the battery pack in the body of IG12, as well as other servo wires. So unfortunately at the moment this was fully working, but IG has kindly donated a lot of his parts over to Flow, so I can work on Flow's servo controlled systems at the moment, but he will get his own back shortly. So what I'm going to do is use the board we've already created, so I'll be stressing this out a little bit, and connecting my data wire, which you can't quite see because I just don't have enough hands. So I'm going to connect the data wire into pin 6. I'm connecting the voltage directly to the Arduino Uno, which I don't actually recommend. Normally when I do this sort of thing, I'll use a separate battery to do the positive and negative, and then give it a common ground. So I'll connect the negatives together, which I'll cover in the second video on this sort of content. So now I've got it plugged in, I think. Okay, so I've now plugged it all in. I'm going to come over to this code. I'm just going to check everything's fine, plugged in, yep. Going to go into tools, COM8, yep, that's ticked. Again, it's always a good idea to make sure. I've seen some people, including myself, get frustrated when it doesn't work because we've not actually plugged it in, or it's not on the right port. So now let's see if this code goes across. I probably should have changed those delays, but it'll do for the moment. So it's compiling. There we go, and copying it across. There we go. So if I just hold that up, we can see it's now going the current. Oops, my key's not quite working on that. That's a shame. Or should we say it's working quite well? Because when it's red, we can see it, and now it'll go green. So it's making itself into a little green screen, and it'll go blue, and brings it all back. So there we go. We can see that our Neopixels are working. Okay, so I think that's the end of this session. I will do some more Neopixels in the future, where we'll look up some more complex code and the way we can handle it, and do multicolours and random colours. But next lesson, definitely servos. So I shall see you in the next one.